The arm around my waist and abdomen felt a bit heavy, and I woke up groggily, feeling my gland faintly heating up. I forced myself to open my eyes despite the soreness. The room was a bit dim, filled with the alpha's pheromones. The person beside me had a scorching embrace. As my consciousness gradually returned, I suddenly woke up. The alpha was still sleeping. After carefully getting out of his embrace, I sat aside and recalled. Last night at the company party, my seat was arranged next to my top boss, Fu Jingxi. I had to grit my teeth and take the seat. After rounds of toasting, the drunkenness gradually welled up. When I was about to drink more, the wine glass in my hand was intercepted in mid-air by the person beside me. After Samuel lowered his eyes and took away my wine glass, he took my wrist and stood up. I just remembered that there's still some work left unfinished. I'll take Daniel away first. You guys can keep drinking slowly. The others could only force a smile and watch him take me away. My mind went blank. After Samuel took me into the car, I even fell into a deep sleep. It wasn't until the car stopped steadily in a strange neighborhood that I was carried out of the car by him. Looking at the unfamiliar room in front of me, I asked, "Aren't we going to the company? Where is this?" Samuel gently placed me on the sofa. His shirt cuffs were rolled up, revealing his firm and powerful forearm muscles. He looked at me and gave a soft laugh. "You're this drunk and still thinking about going to work?" I shook my head and, somehow, touched Samuel's muscles. In the office, who doesn't know that Samuel hates contacting omegas the most? How could he possibly take me to his home? It's a dream. This must be a dream. I traced along his forearm all the way up and finally stopped on his chest. Pinched it, as expected of an S-rank alpha. Since I'm dreaming, I might as well pinch a few more times. My hand continued to move downward, and it seemed about to stop at a certain important part. The next second, it was intercepted by the person in the dream. Samuel's eyes were dark and his Adam's apple rolled. "What do you want to do?" This dream, for some reason, seems too real. I didn't feel scared at all. I leaned closer to the alpha and sniffed at his neck. Samuel furrowed his brows. Thinking of this person's usual aloof and untouchable appearance, I can't help but want to tease him. "It's all your fault for appearing in my dream on your own initiative." The sandalwood fragrance diffused at the tip of my nose. The earlobe of the person beside me was slightly red. "Samuel, your pheromones are truly intoxicating." Alpha, upon hearing this, gripped my arm even tighter. "Daniel, don't push me." Samuel began to retract his pheromones. I was a bit dissatisfied and struggled to break free from his restraint. Then, while he wasn't paying attention, I touched the inhibitor patch on his neck. The next second, the alpha's gland was exposed in the air. The sandalwood fragrance exploded in the room. I instantly felt hot all over. "I want more." Samuel was full of restraint and pressed down my constantly fidgeting hands again. "Don't move, or I don't know what I'll do." I met his gaze, asking for everything. It was so rare to have a dream. I wished I could devour Samuel completely. "Then do it. Who's stopping you?" As soon as the words were out, the person beneath me instantly took the initiative. Samuel pinned me against the corner, breathing heavily. "Are you sure?" The heat kept rising. I felt a bit impatient. "Are you really up to it?" Alpha let out a soft chuckle. "Baby, this is what you asked for. Don't regret it." The scents of sandalwood and pomelo are entangled and intertwined. Later on, I cried and begged him to let me go. However, Samuel pulled me back again and again. He kept biting and licking my gland. Consciousness returned. I slowly looked at the person beside me. The alpha had a high-bridged nose, and there were faintly a few scratch marks on his body. I raised my hand and rubbed my eyes. I wasn't mistaken. It was really that aloof boss from the office. Who in the whole building doesn't know that Samuel hates having contact with omegas the most, especially those who actively stick close to him? I'm doomed. It's now or never. I got out of bed on tiptoe and hurriedly picked up my rather shabby clothes. He left Samuel's estate as quickly as possible. Inside the room, the alpha was woken up by the phone ringing and impatiently hung up the phone. Then he stretched out his arm to pull the person beside him into his arms, but only touched the still warm quilt. Samuel slowly sat up. The scent of grapefruit still lingered in the room. Last night's events replayed in the alpha's mind. A faint smile appeared on his lips. In the taxi, the driver looked at me strangely and said, "These young people nowadays." I buried my head in my lap, doubting my life. After getting home, I quickly changed into clean clothes. The clothes I took off were simply unbearable to look at. In the mirror, my gland was red and swollen, covered with bite marks. The sandalwood fragrance on my body hadn't faded yet. Samuel, this S-class alpha, is truly worthy of the title. I collapsed on the bed, at a loss. The more I thought about it, the sadder I became. Rather than being forced to resign by Samuel, it's better to leave on my own initiative. With tears in my eyes, I ordered takeout to reward my injured self. After eating the pizza, I turned on the computer and started to write my resignation letter. Early the next morning, I deliberately waited until I saw Samuel enter the office building before going to wait for the elevator. After taking a deep breath in front of the president's office for 5 minutes, only then did I summon up the courage to knock on the door. Soft voice, "Enter." After opening the door, Samuel's gaze was slightly curious. I tightly clutched the resignation letter and nervously placed it on his desk. He lowered his eyes and looked at the eye-catching envelope on the desk. The depths of his eyes darkened. I looked aside guiltily and said, "Mr. Samuel, I'm sorry about what happened last night. I apologize to you." Samuel picked up the resignation letter on the table with his slender fingers and then looked up at me. "Do you think you can run away after having your way with me?" He continued, "Where is the person who had her way with me last night? You were straddling." Seeing that he was speaking without restraint and was about to say something even more embarrassing, I quickly interrupted him, biting my lips and saying, "You know, I was drunk last night." Samuel clearly wasn't buying it. He continued, "So what's your reason for resigning? Sleeping with the boss?" He enunciated the last 2 words especially clearly. My face was already burning. I struggled and said, "Mr. Samuel, didn't you enjoy it last night?" I don't know who it was who grabbed my calf and pulled me back twice. Hearing this, Samuel raised his eyebrows. "Yes, I enjoyed it. Are you trying to shift the blame now?" He got up and walked to my side, saying in a deep voice, "How do you want me to take responsibility?" I unconsciously took a step back and was cornered by him in the office. Samuel's gaze was too intense. "Can't we just pretend that nothing happened?" Knowing I was in the wrong, my voice got softer and softer. Samuel's voice was firm. "No." I met his gaze and decided to come clean. "We slept together, and there's no way to reverse it. Mr. Samuel, how do you want me to make amends?" I continued, "For example, I can accept resigning or never appearing in front of you again." Samuel didn't answer. Instead, he slowly undid his tie. Then he undid the buttons of his shirt. I quickly reached out my hand to cover my eyes and said weakly, "It's not impossible for you to sleep with me again, but not here." Hearing this, Samuel's smile grew even wider. "What are you thinking about?" He only undid the top button. Then he tugged at the collar, revealing his mottled collarbone. The fair skin is covered with bite marks. I can't bear to look. After all, the suspect is myself. My gaze shifted to his neck with the suppression patch. Samuel parted his thin lips slightly, as if complaining, "Is my pheromone that attractive? You've bitten my gland so swollen." One can imagine the allure of a top-tier alpha's pheromone. Coupled with what happened last night, I really didn't hold back. Compared with his bite marks, the ones on my body seemed less exaggerated. Samuel said, "You can see how seriously you bit me." I nodded silently. The person in front of me said while sighing. I can't even concentrate on my work. So, upon hearing this, I raised my hand and promised to prevent Mr. Samuel from being distracted. I guarantee that you won't see me again after I resign. Samuel held my hand and said, so you'll be my assistant. Okay, I'll pack up my things and leave the company right away. What? An assistant? Samuel nodded unhurriedly. Aren't you going to compensate me? Unwilling. The air fell silent for 3 seconds. I nodded almost imperceptibly and said, I'm willing. No way. Upon hearing my answer, Samuel slightly curled the corners of his mouth and sat back at his desk. I'm looking forward to your performance, Assistant Daniel. Then he said seriously, does it still hurt there? There? Why are we back to talking about this again? I blushed and said, didn't we agree not to mention it? Samuel said calmly, what's wrong with me caring about my own assistant? I was at a loss for words and stammered in reply, it's not very serious. It's just that I'll feel a bit uncomfortable if I sit for a long time. As soon as I finished speaking, the person in front of me opened the drawer of the desk and took out a tube of ointment from it. Apply it once before going to bed these days. It'll make you feel better. It seemed that this tube of ointment had been prepared long ago. The blush spread. At this time, there was a knock on the door. Samuel stood up, handed me the ointment in his hand, and instructed, go back and have a good rest first. Start work officially next Monday. Before I could reply, a urging voice came from outside the door. Mr. Samuel, it's time for the meeting. After he left, I stayed in the office to calm down for 5 minutes before going home. Before I knew it, it was already Monday. I sighed and knocked on the door of the president's office. When I pushed the door open, Samuel was frowning and staring intently at the computer. The moment our eyes met, his gaze softened a bit. Mr. Samuel, where is my workstation? Samuel lifted his chin slightly. I turned my head and looked over. This location can be said to be extremely perilous. From Samuel's office, can be seen clearly. I gloomily moved my things over there. He just sat down, and as he looked up, he was caught in Samuel's gaze. I quickly lowered my head and picked up a document to cover my face. Finally managed to wait until the lunch break. Just as I was about to slip away to have lunch, Samuel stood in front of my desk, his white knuckles lightly tapping on it. Accompanying the boss for dinner is also part of your job. I could only force a smile. As I thought of walking to the driver's seat to start the car, Samuel unexpectedly put me in the passenger seat. Sit still obediently. Why do I have a feeling of everything being in the wrong order? The president is really kind. He took me to eat a very famous cuisine in the city. He kept picking up food for me during the meal. It seems as if he wants to stuff me to death to vent his hatred. I swallowed the last bite of salmon and said, no more, no more. I really can't eat any more. Samuel held the chopsticks in mid-air, and a soft chuckle escaped from his throat. Those who don't know might think I'm forcing you. I muttered under my breath. Well, you are. Accompanying in eating and drinking. I might as well accompany him in sleeping. As soon as the words fell, Samuel suddenly stood up and leaned in. The distance was getting closer and closer. His breath was warm. I involuntarily closed my eyes and didn't dare to move at all. After a while, a low-pitched laugh came from beside my ear. I suddenly opened my eyes. The alpha's handsome face was right in front of me. Samuel restrained his smile and raised his eyebrows at me. Why are you closing your eyes? The tips of your ears are so red that they're almost dripping blood. I nervously looked elsewhere. This guy is really going too far. Samuel refused to let me go and asked persistently, do you want me to kiss you? Of course not. My eyes suddenly got a bit sore. He followed my words and said, so, you don't want to kiss me. It's just that your eyes are sore. As Samuel spoke, he continued to get closer. This time I didn't fall for it. I leaned back as he got closer. until there was nowhere to hide. I was at a standstill with Samuel on the spot. The air was quiet for a few seconds. Samuel's somewhat cold fingers rubbed against the corner of my mouth. Dirty kid. I blushed at his words. What's even more hateful is that in such an atmosphere, I actually had a crush on him. How spineless. I soothed myself behind Samuel. It's all the fault of the top-level alpha's pheromones. Don't be bewitched by him. After returning to the company, I originally wanted to sit at my own workstation for a while, but he grabbed the back of my clothes and dragged me into the office. Samuel lazily stretched his body. Well, my waist is a bit sore. His hint was obvious. I instantly understood and stepped forward. For the sake of lunch, I'll endure it. Mr. Samuel, is this pressure okay? Seen from the back, the alpha has a very good body proportion, with broad shoulders and a narrow waist. The feel is also very good. As I was massaging, the atmosphere began to feel a bit strange. Does my waist feel good to touch? Samuel's words broke the silence. Only then did I notice that somehow my hands had been wandering around his waist. I didn't answer and quietly withdrew my hands. Samuel didn't say much, as he rarely did, got up and pulled down all the blinds in the room. I glanced at the clock on the wall. It was already lunch break time. Samuel has no intention of letting me leave at all. He got up on his own and opened the door of the lounge. Have you been applying the ointment properly? Samuel looked completely at ease, as if we were discussing a work-related topic. After Alpha asked, he slowly took off his suit jacket. The pure white shirt shows off his figure even more. The heat is rising. I averted my gaze and said, I've applied the medicine, and it's almost healed. Upon hearing my answer, Samuel sat down on the edge of the bed contentedly. Seeing that I didn't move, he gently patted the couch. At this moment, I'm extremely flustered. Could it be that I really have to sleep with him? Could it be that he's become addicted and wants it again? I'm a law-abiding citizen. Mr. Samuel, we can't. Upon hearing this, Samuel let out a soft chuckle from the corner of his mouth. I just want you to sleep beside me and have a good rest. After all, there's still a lot of work this afternoon. What do you mean by no? Then he pretended to be surprised and said, Assistant Daniel doesn't think I still want to. Before he could finish speaking, I quickly strode over and sat on the edge of the bed, saying thank you, Mr. Samuel. Although I was extremely embarrassed, Mr. Samuel's bed was incredibly comfortable. Almost the moment I lay down, I relaxed. I fell asleep in less than 3 minutes, leaving all my worries behind. I was woken up by the heat. I don't know how long I've slept. The light in the lounge has dimmed a bit. My waist and abdomen were tightly wrapped by someone, and I couldn't move. I slowly opened my eyelids. An expanse of pure white came into view. Then, a faint sandalwood fragrance wafted into my nose. It makes people inexplicably at ease. The next moment, the hand of the person beside me on my waist tightened even more. My body couldn't help getting closer. Only then did I come to my senses. I'm tightly embraced with Samuel. It's improper for men and women to be too close. Moreover, we have a past record. I carefully tried to move his arm away. The moment our hands got close, the person beside me opened his eyes. Samuel's eyes darkened slightly as he looked at my hand resting on his arm. My face burned up instantly. Unexpectedly, Samuel took the initiative. Why are you lying in my arms? And you still want to touch my hand? I met his gaze and said, It was you who hugged me first. As I spoke, I struggled to keep a distance from him. Samuel slowly let go of his hand and said leisurely, You came into my arms on your own. But I'm usually a very well-behaved sleeper. I was unable to refute. I sat up from the bed and rubbed my eyes. The person beside me continued, Why aren't you running away this time? Not willing to show weakness. I muttered under my breath. Nothing inappropriate happened. Why should I run? After saying that, I got up on my own. put on my shoes, and left pretending to be calm. I didn't notice the burning gaze of the person behind me. Just as I sat back in my seat, a colleague came over to gossip. "Assistant Daniel, have you been scolded in the office for the whole noon?" The others seemed to be working seriously, but their ears are almost perked up. I surely can't say that I slept in the same bed with the president inside. I pretended to be strong and said, "It doesn't matter." As soon as I finished speaking, the colleague who struck up a conversation with me patted me on the shoulder to show comfort. It's okay. All the omegas around Mr. Samuel are like this. Don't take it to heart." Unconsciously, a week has passed. The work was relatively peaceful. Samuel didn't give me any trouble either. At most, I just accompanied him for meals and drinks, and I could even sleep on a big bed at noon. I even enjoyed it. It's just that when I wake up, we always end up hugging each other inexplicably. Something seems off. Today at noon, Samuel pulled me into the waiting room normally. "Mr. Samuel, please wait a moment." After saying that, I took out a thin quilt from the bag I had prepared earlier. I'd better cover myself with my own quilt. After all, men and women should avoid physical contact. Samuel frowned slightly and didn't say much. It seemed that all this was just a waste of effort. When the lunch break was over, I woke up in his arms again. I looked at Samuel's sleeping face and let out a deep sigh. If this goes on, I'm afraid I'll really develop inappropriate feelings for Samuel. By the time Samuel woke up, I had already left the office. When it was time to get off work, everyone left one after another. I had just packed up my things and was about to go home when I was stopped by Samuel. "Assistant Daniel, accompany me to a drinking party." It was more like a banquet than a drinking party. As soon as the car stopped in front of the club, someone came down to greet us. To be precise, they were greeting Samuel. I followed behind him and entered the hall. The decoration can be described in 4 words: resplendent and magnificent. I accompanied Samuel on his business engagement behind him. Before long, someone walked in our direction. It seemed that this person was also an alpha. "Mr. Samuel, it's been a while." Samuel nodded slightly. The man's gaze turned to me and he asked, "Is this your Omega?" I paused for a moment and denied, "I'm just Mr. Samuel's secretary." "That's good. May I have your contact information?" Could it be that he wants to discuss work-related matters with me? Before I could take out my phone, the person beside me blocked in front of me. "Assistant Daniel, it's working time now." I poked my head out from behind him. "But aren't we going to talk about work?" The person who asked for the contact information had a knowing look on his face and smiled. "I'm not here to talk about work with you. Mr. Samuel, you have to work harder. How strange." After that person left, Samuel took me to a quiet corner. "Wait for me obediently. After walking a couple of steps, he walked back the same way, with a slightly warning tone. "Don't add strangers' contact information while I'm away." I nodded awkwardly. I cursed in my heart. Samuel. Isn't he just afraid that I'll job hop? I picked up a wine glass from the table and took a small sip. Tasted good, so I accidentally drank a few more glasses. After realizing that I was starting to feel dizzy and disoriented, I immediately stopped. Besides the dizzy feeling of being drunk, I also felt a bit hot, a burning heat from the inside out. I couldn't help but take off my suit jacket. Samuel is clinking glasses with others within my line of sight. I stare at him intently without blinking. Set off by others, Samuel appears even more superior. No wonder there are always people trying to get close to him. The alpha converses with ease, and his gaze sweeps over from time to time. I turn my head away uncomfortably. Samuel drained the wine glass in his hand and said, "Excuse me." He strode over with his long legs. "Why did you take off your clothes?" I was slow to react and looked up blankly. "It's hot." As I said that, I was about to unbutton my shirt again. Seeing this, Samuel stopped my fidgety hands. I complained dissatisfiedly. It's hot. Samuel lowered his eyes, bent down to pick up the coat I had put aside, and took me out of the hall. We get in the car. Samuel turned on the cold air and took out the suppressant patches that were always kept in the car. He helps me change them on with extreme self-restraint. I sniff, feeling even hotter. Samuel, your pheromones are overflowing. Hearing this, he frowned. When was your last heat period? I shook my head and said, I can't remember. He said in a hoarse voice, you don't even know when your own heat period is coming. Samuel placed his hand on the steering wheel and wanted to start the car. While waiting at a red light, I can hardly hold back anymore. The exposed skin on my body is all strikingly flushed. Samuel, could you help me first? The alpha's gaze shifted to my legs and he said hoarsely, be good. We'll be at the hospital soon. The gland was faintly heating up. I urged, Samuel, I'm in pain. He sighed and sped up the car. 2 minutes later, the car didn't reach the hospital. Instead, it stopped in an empty park. I couldn't wait to take his hand and lead it to my neck. It's very hot here. Samuel took a deep breath and said, when you sober up, don't hide from me anymore. My mind went blank, and I nodded vigorously. The next moment, Samuel's palm covered it. The touch was a bit cold and I couldn't help shivering. In the end, we still didn't go to the hospital. Samuel called a private doctor to give me an inhibitor and also prepared the medicine. So this heat period passed quickly. When I regained consciousness, it was already 2 days later. I got up from the bed feeling refreshed. Fragments of memories pieced together. It's over. It happened for the second time. Although this time Samuel only used his hands. But even now, I still clearly remember that touch. At this moment, the door was opened. I quickly hid under the quilt and pretended to be asleep. The sound of footsteps was getting closer and closer to me. I closed my eyes tightly and remained motionless. Unexpectedly, Samuel stood by the bedside and didn't leave. A few seconds later, someone gently pinched my face. If you don't wake up, I can't keep acting anymore. I pretended to have just woken up and slowly opened my eyes. Mr. Samuel, why are you here? Samuel looked calm and said, have you forgotten who helped you through your heat? As he spoke, he looked at his own palm. Thinking about what these hands had done to me, I couldn't help blushing. Daniel, when shall we settle the score? I clenched the bedsheet and gritted my teeth, saying, Mr. Samuel, I'll give you an explanation. Hearing this, Samuel slightly curled his lips and said, as long as you've thought it through, I'm willing to wait no matter how long it takes. He leaned over and handed me the water cup and medicine on the bedside table. Be a good boy and take your medicine. Come downstairs to have something to eat after you've tidied up. Before leaving, he gently stroked my head. Is this the calm before the storm? When going downstairs, Samuel was cooking in the kitchen, as expected of an all-round alpha. Who could not be attracted by this? I composed myself and sat down at the dining table. Samuel carefully placed the plate down. It was a rare, peaceful meal. After getting home, when I was lying in bed thinking about life, the phone rang. It was a call from my mom. Daniel, do you still remember Leo? He's the best friend you played with before we moved house. Leo? Took me a few seconds to react. Then I asked tentatively, is it Leo? A voice came from the other end of the phone. Yes. I still remember when we moved house. You two hugged each other and cried. At that time, we even joked about arranging a childhood engagement for you two. Those are all things from childhood. Don't mention them. The voice on the other end continued. Leo has recently returned to China and plans to develop in your city. He'll arrive the day after tomorrow. Remember to pick him up at the airport. Then she added in a low voice, Leo is an alpha. You're both single. You can get to know each other. I replied sullenly, Mom, Can you stop pushing me towards every alpha you meet? Come to think of it, I haven't been in touch with Leo for a long time, since he went abroad 5 years ago. At first, we still sent messages to each other. Later, gradually, except for holiday greetings, we haven't contacted each other anymore. The last time we chatted was during the spring festival this year. I ruffled my hair randomly. One wave has not subsided, and another wave rises. Leo's plane landed in the morning. After lunch, Samuel went back to the office to work overtime. I stood aside, organizing my words. He looked up at me and said, "Do you have something to say?" I nodded and said, "Mr. Samuel, I'd like to take a leave tomorrow morning." Samuel asked, "Are you not feeling well?" I simply explained the reason for my leave. "A friend is coming, and I'm going to pick them up at the airport." Samuel nodded thoughtfully and didn't say much. Early the next morning, after getting ready, I set off for the airport. It didn't take long to pick up Leo. He was standing not far away, with a clear and melodious voice. "Daniel, over here." Leo hasn't changed much compared to 5 years ago. He has just become a bit more mature in appearance and personality. He stepped forward and ruffled the top of my hair. "Long time no see." I glanced at the time and asked, "Are you hungry? I know a good restaurant and have already made a reservation." He nodded and followed me to the parking lot. It didn't take long to arrive at the restaurant. It's my first time at this restaurant. I'm still with Samuel. Shortly after we sat down, a familiar figure appeared in front of us. I quickly picked up the menu to cover my face. It's a pity that it was still a step too late and I was discovered. Samuel walked over to me and stood by my side, saying, "Assistant Daniel, is this your friend?" Having nowhere to hide, I forced a smile and said, "Mr. Samuel, what a coincidence." Seeing this, Leo asked, "Daniel, who is this?" On the verge of tears, I replied, "My boss." Then I made a polite offer, "Mr. Samuel, are you here alone? How about having dinner with us?" Inside my head, I was thinking, "Reject me. Please reject me quickly." "Sure, I'd be glad to." I mentally slapped myself and thought, "Why did you have to be so talkative?" While waiting for the dishes to be served, Samuel looked at Leo. After a brief eye contact, they nodded slightly to each other. First, the atmosphere was quite normal. Everything started to feel a bit off until the dishes were served. After Samuel cut the steak, he directly moved it in front of me. "Eat this." After Leo peeled the lobster, he put it on my plate. "Daniel, I remember you used to love shrimp the most." Samuel remained calm and casually moved the whole plate of lobster to his side and began to peel them one by one. "I don't actually love it that much." Seeing this, Leo let out a soft laugh. "By the way, I haven't told you about my relationship with Daniel. Let me introduce myself again. I'm Leo, Daniel's fiancé." Fortunately, I didn't have anything in my mouth. Otherwise, I would have sprayed it all out. I had a look of complete confusion on my face and said, "What did you say? When did this happen to us?" Leo looked completely calm and said, "Have you forgotten? We've had an arranged childhood marriage since we were kids." Samuel beside me gave a soft snort. His face looked extremely ugly. As he peeled the shrimp, he said, "Someone who doesn't know would think you're from the last century. Arranged childhood marriages." The lobster shells were a bit hard. Moreover, Samuel was peeling them with increasing force. I reminded him, "Stop peeling. Be careful of your hands." He didn't stop. It seemed he was about to finish peeling the whole plate. I quickly pulled Samuel's hand. A streak of red oozed from the fingertips. I looked at Leo and said, "You eat first. We'll go to the restroom to take care of this." Samuel raised his eyebrows and went to the restroom with me. People came and went in the restaurant. After a simple disinfection, I took out the band-aid I always carried with me and carefully put it on for him. Samuel still had the mood to joke. "Thanks to Dr. Daniel. If the treatment was any later, I would have recovered already. I couldn't help but laugh. Childish. Finally, when the meal was over, Leo received a work call and left by taxi first. I looked at Samuel. Without any explanation, he grabbed me and got into the car. All the way, the car drove fast but steadily. I was taken into the office by him. The moment the blinds were closed, Samuel pinned me against the corner of the wall. Is this your explanation to me? Having dinner with another alpha in the restaurant I took you to? Fiancé? Arranged childhood marriage? Do you want to infuriate me? The distance was too close. I could hardly stand still, and my legs went weak. I wanted to keep a distance from him, but I was completely overpowered. Samuel's slender fingers wandered under the hem of my clothes. If you move around again, don't blame me for doing something here. My voice trembled. Mr. Samuel, I'll explain it to you right now. His palm stopped moving and he quietly waited for me to speak. From now on, whether it's working hours or off work hours, I'll do whatever you ask until you calm down. Is that okay? The room fell silent instantly. Then it was broken by Samuel's somewhat helpless laughter. Daniel, do you really think I only see you as an assistant? Are you really stupid or just pretending? Samuel pinched my chin. I was forced to look into his eyes. Samuel leaned close to my ear and said, Daniel, I like you. It has nothing to do with pheromones. It's just because it's you. My heart seemed to skip a beat and then kept accelerating. Samuel gently rubbed against my nose tip, a hint of doting showing on his face. Baby, I'll give you time to accept being my boyfriend, but don't make me wait too long. Just not knowing how to react. At this time, there came a knock on the door from outside. Mr. Samuel, there's a contract that needs your confirmation. I quickly slipped out from under his arm and left the office clumsily. The sky is falling. My boss confessed his love to me and even called me baby. Even scarier is that I'm attracted to him. As it was almost time to get off work, as soon as the second hand passed, I didn't say a word and just grabbed my bag and ran, for fear of being stopped by someone. After getting home, I seemed to lose the ability to think and just sat on the sofa blankly. My mind is full of Samuel. It's false to say that I have no other feelings, but I only dare to act recklessly in my dreams. Moreover, I'm just a low-quality omega. It's like a mess that can't be cut or sorted out. Since I can't sort it out for the time being, I might as well just slack off. Anyway, Samuel said he would give me some time. Sure enough, when I went back to work, apart from feeling a bit awkward, we both tacitly didn't mention this matter again. However, Samuel seems to have become a bit clingy. It's okay that we must have meals together, but even during the lunch break, he actually threw away my quilt. This day at nap time, Leo sent a message. Daniel, are you free to have dinner with me? At this moment, Samuel is lying beside me. I inexplicably felt a bit guilty. I didn't reply immediately. I poked the alpha beside me. I'm going to have dinner with Leo tonight. Different from what I imagined, Samuel didn't get angry. Instead, he whispered, Baby, are you reporting to me? Of course not. I turned over and stopped looking at him, but my exposed ears were so red that they seemed to be dripping blood. After work, Leo went directly to pick me up downstairs of the company, so I was forced to get in the car in front of Samuel. He ordered all the dishes I used to like. The atmosphere was very harmonious. We recalled a lot of things before. When we were almost done eating, Leo put down his knife and fork, looking solemn. I always thought you would wait for me. It's okay to tell you these things after I came back to the country. Daniel, I know I might have been a step late, but I still don't want to give up. Could you give me a chance to pursue you? I gazed at his eyes for a moment. I'm sorry, Leo. You will meet someone more suitable than me. Upon hearing this, the person in front of him, who had anticipated this all along with a sense of foreboding, smiled with a mix of contentment and regret. Daniel, we're still friends, right? Of course. He comforted himself, saying, at least the friendship is always stable. Daniel, I wish you happiness. After the meal, we left separately. I stood at the restaurant door, as if I had made some major decision, and hailed a taxi. The destination is Samuel's house. Master, please hurry up. Someone is waiting for me. After getting off the car, I almost ran to the door. Just as the doorbell rang for the first time, I was still gasping for breath. The next moment, I was pulled into a warm embrace. Samuel seemed to have premeditated it and knew clearly that it was me who had come. We just hugged quietly like this for a long time. Samuel said in a muffled voice, "You smell of another alpha." I quickly took off my coat and was pulled into the house by him. From the living room to the bedroom, there were roses all over the floor. Samuel holds a large bouquet of flowers. With tears in my eyes, I looked up at him. How did you know I would come to find you? Alpha spoke softly, because I know you also like me. So, baby, can you give me your answer now? I didn't speak, but I tiptoed up and pressed against him. The two soft lips touched. This is my answer. The bouquet scattered on the floor. Samuel held the back of my head and took the initiative. I was forced to let out a whimper. The kiss is too deep. It was a long time before he finally let me go. Baby, I like you so much. Life was peaceful but full of love. One day at work, I walked out of Samuel's office with a swollen mouth again. A colleague reminded me, "Assistant Daniel, your mouth." I quickly covered it, but they looked as if they understood everything. Don't you and Mr. Samuel think we don't know about your relationship yet? I tried to struggle a bit. We have a very pure superior-subordinate relationship. Don't get the wrong idea. One of the colleagues said in a low voice, "Last time I came back to get a document after work and caught you and Mr. Samuel kissing." Another colleague also spoke up. "Once I went to the pantry and saw Mr. Samuel drinking the coffee you left. I saw you getting into the passenger seat of Mr. Samuel's car in the underground garage. Mr. Samuel has also worn this tie of yours. Every word is unsubstantiated." I pursed my lips. "Sorry for keeping it from you for so long. I'll treat you to dinner at the next gathering." Although I often stay at Samuel's place, I still go home for a few days a week. After repeated coaxing, finally I gave in. On the first day of our official cohabitation, before I even finished unpacking my luggage, I was picked up around the waist by the alpha. Samuel took out some things from the bedside table that I had never seen before. Pitifully little fabric, bunny ear hairpins, bunny tails, and many indescribable things. I was grabbed by my calf and pinned against the corner of the bed by him. I wanted to run, but I couldn't. Samuel slowly peeled off the suppression patch from his neck. "Child, tomorrow is the weekend." Breathing alternately, a sober fall into temptation. The gentle breeze outside the window caressed the branches. The leaves kept swaying. I stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, my legs weak and my voice in tatters. "Samuel, I hate you." Alpha gently nibbled at my neck and said, "Baby, I love you so much." The wind and rain didn't stop until the second half of the night. Samuel hugged me into his arms. From then on, there will be a lover by my side every day.